Right, so let's just recap what we have done so far, right? So we've finished talk about adding and subtracting like terms. We've done the multiplication, division, or product and quotient of. So we've done the multiplication, division, or some of the common terms that we have is product and quotient of like and unlike terms. I've explained the properties. Now we are going to talk about Bodmas. And Bodmas is a very, very important rule because it's basically like the heart of maths, right? What's the order? So given all of these symbols, given a bracket, given an exponent, given a division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction sign in an expression, what order do we follow in order to simplify the question, right? That's basically what Bodmas is. It's telling us the order and which of the symbols take precedence over which other symbols, right? That's what you need to remember. So let's work with Bodmas, and I'm going to reveal something that very few textbooks actually talk about, right? How is Bodmas different for expressions and equations? And this is what I meant at the beginning of the video of having a very rigid system to follow. This is the rule that is going to enable you to have that rigid system to follow, right? So let's work with that quickly. Right, so with Bodmas, this is what you're going to write it down here. Bodmas, right, but you can just put the E there, so Bodmas, right? And this is what I need you to remember. Whenever you are solving an equation, so when you are solving an equation, let me write this down here. Equation, right? When you are solving an equation, you follow Bodmas from right to left. So going from here this way, right to left. However, when you are simplifying an expression, two things that we talk about a lot, solving and simplifying. Simplifying an expression, you follow Bodmas from left to right, and this is basically everything that you need to solve an algebraic expressions question. The first thing that you will use is the brackets. Then you will go to the off. So off is basically when I say 2 of half is the same as saying 2 times half. But the off is basically your multiplication. So it'll be 2 times half, which is 1, right? Exponents, if you have any exponents in the question, then exponents will be the next operation to follow. Then your division, then your multiplication, then your addition, and then your subtraction. Now it's very important that you see that division and multiplication and addition and subtraction go hand in hand. So if you're given both the division and a multiplication, you can do either or. It doesn't really matter. Even the same applies to addition and subtraction, right? Then in more complicated cases with the brackets, right? So now I'm going to elaborate on each of these parts. With the brackets, sometimes in more complicated cases, you could have something like this here. Let's say like 2x plus y, or 2x squared multiplied by 2y, right? And this entire thing here, we're multiplying by 4, something like that. Let's just say we have something like this. Just say you're given this question here, multiplied by, right? When you're given a question like this here where you have multiple brackets, then you start prioritizing the brackets on the inside, the smaller brackets. So you start from inside moving outside, right? So then you'll say, okay, let's start with what's inside the bracket. So you'll copy the 4 there, keep the 4, and then it'll be 2 times 2. Now we have this, right? Then we'll have, immediately after this, what we have to prioritize, because we're dealing with this bracket here. So we have to prioritize the exponent. So 2 squared is 4x squared is x squared multiplied by 2y, right? Then I can go a step further, right? Now I can further simplify the bracket, right? So now that I've simplified the bracket on the inside, let's further simplify everything. So now we have 4 into, we have unlike terms, right? And we're multiplying these unlike terms. What rule do we follow? SNV, sign, number, variable. Positive times a positive is a positive. 4 times 2 is 8. X squared times y is x squared y. And now we can multiply the 4 by 8. The 4, or positive times a positive is positive. 4 times 8 is what? 32 x squared y. Very simple, straightforward, right? So that's how we get to the answer. So if you're given multiple brackets in a question, you must be able to work from the inside going out, right? Another thing that I have to bring to your attention with exponents. if you're given exponents where you got the root sign, right? When you're given the root sign, then you need to think of it like this here. So you're given the square root of 2x squared all squared, something like this. Then the way you work with this question is you think of this root sign as a bracket as well. So you consider it as a grouping symbol, is what we say. So this is a big bracket, this is a small bracket. So what must we do? Work on the inside, then move to the outside. That's the way we work with when we're given a root sign. Right, so it's exactly like how we had this here. Okay, so now when we're dealing with this type of question, again, I told you to think of the root sign as a bracket. So we'll have to work with what's on the inside, because that's a bigger bracket. We'll always work with the smaller bracket. So we move from inside out. So therefore this will be 4x to the power 4, 4x to the power 4, the square root of that, and then we can simplify this to 2x. Right, very simple, very straightforward. Yeah, so that's basically how we work with the root sign. So that's how we work with the root sign, right? We think of it as a bracket. Division, multiplication, work with them as you see them, but they have to occur before addition and subtraction. Again, same with addition and subtraction. Fairly straightforward. And again, you need to remember that your calculator does not know about Bodmas. So when you're working with the calculator, you have to be very careful with how you type it into the calculator. Right? So just remember that. Okay. Lastly, in this section, we're going to talk about evaluating expressions. So if you're given, for example, it's not a difficult one, right? So if you're given, let's say, so write this down, evaluating expressions, right? If you're given 2x plus 2 and they tell you that x is equal to 2, how do you evaluate this, right? Simple. Wherever you see the x, you're putting 2, right? Because they're saying that x is 2, but you must remember something. Whenever you substitute, you must parenthesize. Parenthesize meaning put whatever you're substituting in brackets. Parenthesize. Right. So if I was given, so this will be 4 plus 2, which is equal to 6. Can you see how I followed Bodmas here? Brackets first, then I brought, or multiplication, or brackets first, then I brought in the addition. So if it's given a more complicated example like 2x squared plus 4x plus 5y, and I said that x is equal to 2 and y is equal to 5, then I will substitute, but whenever I substitute, I must parenthesize. So it'll be 2 times 2 squared plus 4 times 2 plus 5 times y. Plus 5 times 5. And then I can say, now I have all of this here, now I have to work with the brackets now. So if I look at this bracket, it's 2 times 4 plus 4 times 2 plus 5 times 5. And then you will have 2 times 4 is 8 plus 4 times 2 is 8 plus 5 times 5 is 25. And then if you add all of this together, 16 plus 25 is 41. And that's basically how we solve the problem. So that's how we evaluate. You just need to remember that whenever you are substituting, you must parenthesize. Always. Because sometimes this could have been a minus sign. So let's change this entire question and let's say minus 2. Let's say that you were given minus 2. Right? 5y. Let's say we're given minus 2. And let's say you had a minus sign here. And you had minus 4x. Right? How would you do this example? Let's say it's given this here. How would you do this? Now this is why you have to be very careful with how you have to be very careful with the brackets, because see, minus 4 into minus 2. I have to parenthesize because this minus will distribute into that minus. And then minus 2 times, and then minus 2 times minus 2 squared. You have to put it in brackets. You have to, because otherwise you're going to start putting in the wrong thing. You're going to mix this minus 2 with that minus 2, and you're going to just add in 2. These are common errors that you'll make, and trust me, under exam conditions, you will be surprised at the number of errors that you can make. So minus times a minus is a plus, 4 times 2 is 8, minus 2 into, and minus 2 squared is 4. Then 8 minus times a positive is a minus, 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 minus 8 is 0. Right? The small things will matter. Under exam conditions, trust me, you are going to make silly mistakes. Mistakes that you could have avoided if you follow simple rules like substitute and parenthesize. And again, like I said, with longer format questions, when we start working with more in-depth questions, these ideas will become important. So keep them at the back of your head. These are small tools. These are small rules that you need to remember. So when we start working with other examples, I'm going to bring all of these rules back in. So you will see how they fit.